It's Tuesday morning, and we've a full lineup for you today. Here's what's coming up.
Today, Brian Holman gets an update on the 2013 USDA Ag Census, a project done once every 5 years. Learn the importance of participating in this report. Next, Devin Stewart brings us an update from the Southern Plains Drought Summit that recently took place in Pratt, Kansas. Then Cindy Campbell tells us that with record high prices, beef may be a hard sell this year unless it proves it's worth the extra dough. And in our Healthy Yard segment, we learn the benefits of using mulch.
Closed captioning brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff Progress, powered by Kansas farmers.
This segment is brought to you by the Kansas Association of Wheat Growers and the Kansas Wheat Commission. Together, we are Kansas Wheat.
Jason, thank you for joining us this morning.
Sure, Brian.
We're making our final push into our USD Ag Census report, and we just kind of wanted to get a snapshot of how we're doing in Kansas and maybe get the word out if some people need a little push in getting that information in.
Sure, Brian. Yeah, we're in our final push of the Census of Agriculture. This is a project that's only done once every 5 years, and so it's very critical that we do a real good job of counting every farmer and rancher across the state of Kansas. So currently we're sending about 67% response. The due date for the Census of Agriculture was the 4th of February, and we extended that about a month. We sent out a second questionnaire to those that hadn't filled it out yet. And so we sent that out, and now we're getting to the point where we're starting to make some telephone calls, follow-ups to those that didn't want to fill it out in the mail, and send it out to fill it out on the questionnaire and mail it in. So we'll do some telephone calls and may even send some interviewers out to do some personal contacts.
I know the state of Kansas is trending above the national average, and we're doing better than some of our, what I would say, touching neighbors, being Nebraska, Colorado, Oklahoma, but we have someone to the east who's outpacing us a little bit, and I think most people in the state of Kansas would like to outpace the state to the east. So again, let's just make that last pitch effort to try to get those people to get those things in.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're doing a really good job. But yeah, we have been one of the leading states in the region in the past, and I'd like to keep it that way. And I think that the farmers and ranchers out there, they'll respond and do a real good job. A lot of farmers like to talk to somebody on the phone, so I'm expecting that once they get somebody on the phone, they want to give that information and help us out there.
I know there are pockets within the state. We talked a little bit off camera. There are pockets within the state that are doing very well. There are some pockets that are not doing so well. What areas of the state do we really need to make sure that people understand how important this is?
Sure. I'd send out kudos to Kiowa County right away. They've led the state throughout the process. Since the beginning of the year, Kiowa County's been doing a real good job of getting their questionnaires in, so kudos out there. Some areas that probably need some more attention and we need more questionnaires in because they're very big ag counties would be up there in the north central part of the state. Osborne County, for instance, is quite a ways behind what I'd like to see them. So I'd really like to get some farmers and ranchers up in that area to make for sure they send that questionnaire in, because if we don't count every farm and ranch here in Kansas, it could affect programs in the future.
Mm-hmm. And let's talk about that. We've got about a minute left here. What are some of the programs that will affect?
Well, most of the government programs, from CRP to even direct payments, those type of programs are based on some of this data that comes from the Census of Agriculture. And I've seen instances where there might be an emergency type fund that comes out to the states, and the first thing they do is look at, well, how much money goes to each state. And they'll look at the farm count and say, this is how much money goes to each state. So if we miss 10% of our farms here in Kansas, then we're missing 10% of that fund that could be coming our way. So it's critical that every farm and ranch that has at least $1,000 worth of sales in 2012 be counted in the Census of Agriculture.
Answer the phone or fill out the questionnaire.
Yes, and be nice to those interviewers. We appreciate that.
The Kansas State University College of Veterinary Medicine is a leader in food animal research and education. Our researchers are constantly expanding the knowledge of animal health and food safety. Through the Veterinary Health Center and the Kansas State Veterinary Diagnostic Lab, we provide practical services for animal producers. Home of the Beef Cattle Institute, the college is committed to animal welfare training and research. The Kansas State University College of Veterinary Medicine, knowledge and service for the future of animal production.
This hog is head over hoof for meal made from U.S. soybeans. Now, one hog isn't that impressive, but suppose we add another, and another, and another. Before long, you've got billions of hungry customers around the world all clamoring for the same thing. Our soybeans. Learn more about the billion-dollar appetite of animal agriculture at BeyondTheElevator.com. Brought to you by America's soybean farmers and their checkoff.
Now another gardening tip with Annette Jackson.
For the greenest, healthiest, weed-free lawn in your neighborhood, the Fertilome Lawn Care program is the best. Fertilome Lawn Care products provide your lawn with the exact ingredients for proper fertilization and weed prevention. Jackson's friendly staff will call you to let you know when to apply the next step. We can also do it for you, so call or stop in now.
The Fertilome Lawn Care program is still available at last year's prices, but hurry, time is limited.
Roy Fry Western Lifestyles brings the cowboy or cowgirl out in all of us. With a huge selection of must-have items, it doesn't matter if you're shopping for your horse, picking up some Western accessories to add that rustic charm to your home, or simply treating yourself. The knowledge and expertise to dress you your Western best is right here at Roy Fry Western Lifestyles, Highway 24 and Kansas Avenue in Topeka.
Ag AM in Kansas is brought to you in part by K-State Research and Extension. Knowledge for life.
A few of us had the opportunity to attend the Southern Plains Drought Summit in Pratt, Kansas, and meet up with a few of the presenters, one of which was Keith Harmony, a range scientist with the Ag Research Center in Hays, Kansas. With Ag AM in Kansas, I'm Devin Stewart. Harmony discussed what has been documented about the plant populations and cover in western Kansas during previous droughts, how precipitation amount and timing affects our rangeland yields for making stocking decisions, and how precipitation affects animal production or performance on rangelands. Harmony first talks about the comparison to grassland growths in previous extended droughts, like the 1930s and 1950s.
The droughts of the 30s and 50s, of course, we know how long those were. This drought, we don't know how long it's going to carry on. But there were studies that were performed in the 30s and 50s where they actually tracked grass populations and grass cover in pastures of different of stocking rates. And in some of those historical research observations, they found that the drought of the 1930s had a big impact on what the ground cover and grass population was of those pastures that they studied. In particular, out at Hays, where our research center is located, some of the pastures around there specifically, they found that the pastures that were heavily grazed, that were dominated by blue grama and buffalo grass prior to the drought, at the start of the drought, after a few years of drought, those pastures greatly declined in grass cover to the point that there was very little ground cover of plant material left. The population of buffalo grass and blue grama almost disappeared in some of those places. In moderate stocked pastures, the same thing occurred, but it occurred more slowly. So the amount of grazing that took place prior to the drought occurring had a big impact on how quickly those grass populations and that cover declined. In the years of that 30s drought, 1936 seemed to be the year that much of that grass disappearance occurred. During the recovery portion, after 1936, where most of those areas hit their lowest cover point, buffalo grass seemed to be the grass that recovered the quickest because it was a grass that has stolons, and those stolons come from a perennial part of the plant, so it's able to those stolons spread out across the ground and repopulate the area, whereas blue grama is a bunch grass that repopulates by seed. Now, in the 1950s, we also saw some plant cover loss. as far as what our records are at the Hayes Research Center, the plant loss wasn't as great as what was observed during that 1930s time period, but we still did suffer some stand loss.
AM in Kansas is brought to you in part by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
We've been using Multi-Min for about 7 years. It's one of the most multi-use products that we have here on the farm. Bulls, cows, calves, weaning age cattle, just about everything on the place. If they go through the chute, they get a shot of it. The primary use that we started Multi-Min was in our donor program, in our embryo transplant program. I'd recommend Multi-Min to any producer in the cattle business. Here at Deer Valley, every animal that goes through the chute gets a dose of Multi-Min.
Dr. Dan here. Whether I'm driving up and down the roads covering the state of Kansas, or I'm getting between Riley and Manhattan for my job, I'm driving a Ford truck. I'd like you to come out and visit my friends here at Dick Edwards Ford. They have a truck that'll suit your needs, whether you're looking for power with a Power Stroke diesel, or if you're looking for fuel efficiency with the new EcoBoost engine, they got a truck that's just right for you. They're located 2 miles east of the Town Center Mall in Manhattan, Kansas, and they'll bend over backwards to help you. And I'll see you down the road.
Get ready for the Kicker Country Stampede presented by Verizon Wireless, starring Jason Aldean. Ray Atkins. 4 days of camping and country music at Country Stampede, Little Big Town. The Pistol Annies featuring Ashley Monroe, Miranda Lambert, and Angelina Presley. Country Stampede. Take advantage of our current pricing. Use Easy Pay to split up your payments. Save money through April 30th with early bird pricing. More info at countrystampede.com.
American innovation is being driven in places you might not expect by people like Brent Hayek, an Oklahoma family farmer, who recently set a world land speed record in a Ford Super Duty pickup truck powered by renewable B20 biodiesel. Advanced performance is here, now, putting America on the fast track to more jobs and energy independence. Biodiesel, America's advanced biofuel.
Ag AM in Kansas is brought to you in part by K-State Research and Extension. Knowledge for life.
Let's talk a little bit about the adjusted stocking rates.
Well, adjusted stocking rates kind of go with a drought plan, I guess you could say. For producers that prior to drought practice a moderate recommended stocking rate for their rangelands, our rangelands are pretty resilient, and they can usually handle 1 year of abnormally low or abnormally high precipitation just fine. That's what moderate stocking rates are for, is they kind of take that into account, that you're not going to get the same precipitation amount every year. So folks that start out with a moderate stocking rate are going to a moderate or light stocking rate are going to have a little bit of flexibility. It's when you add on multiple years of dry conditions that things will tend to get more difficult to manage and to predict what's going to happen.
Can you talk a little bit about the factors involved in that
then? And that's where having a drought plan comes into play. So when you do get more than one season of dry weather, having a plan where you initially have moderate recommended stocking rates, and you have stocking strategies that allow you to have a vigorous grass stand, that you have enough cover on your pastures to protect it from erosion and to help water infiltrate when you do get rainfall. All those things come into part of an overall plan. And then you also, in a drought plan, can include to have time periods where you make certain decisions. And one of those decisions might be to when you decide that you're going to reduce your stocking rates. At the end of one growing season, if you have a pasture that has been stressed in some manner the prior year, whether that be from it was grazed heavier than what you wanted it to be or should have been, or if it was stressed from dry weather, all those things have an effect on the vigor or the status of that grass stand to come into the next year.
Keith, how much of a detriment on grazing performance can a cattle producer expect if it remains dry?
Well, we have records of cattle performance that go along with our precipitation records and our pasture production. As far as grassland yield records go, we also have animal data that go along with that. And in the data that I've looked at, there actually is a negative trend with in cattle performance with increased precipitation, which is kind of counterintuitive of what most folks would think. As we increase precipitation during the season, our individual cattle performance over the 35 years of data that I looked at actually declined. And I think a lot of that has to do with plant maturity. The grasses in our pastures, they need moisture to grow and mature. And if we get early moisture, April, May, June moisture, those grasses then have the moisture they need to grow and mature. And as they mature, they put on seed heads, they lignify, and they become lower in forage quality. And I think with the drought or dry years, with drought situations, that maturity is delayed. So we have vegetation that is higher quality longer into the season. And what my summary is of that is that our cattle during drought years, as long as they have enough forage, they should have good performance. It's when our cattle run out of forage, or if they are having to graze on prior year's residual forage, that's old dormant grass that is of lower quality, then they probably could have lower animal performance.
With Ag AM in Kansas, I'm Devin Stewart.
This is the fast track to more jobs and America's energy independence. Advanced performance is here, now. Biodiesel, America's advanced biofuel.
Soil is the life of a farm, and for 25 years, SureCrop Liquid Crop Nutrition has helped growers produce abundant quality crops while preserving and improving the soils they steward. SureCrop offers complete soil and plant analysis with cropping recommendations, delivery direct to your on-farm storage, and quality crop nutrition custom blended for your field. Choose SureCrop for the assurance of excellence for your soil. Call today or visit their website for more information. This segment is brought to you by Santa Fe Trail Meats in Overbrook. Stop by or visit us at sftmeats.com.
Want to top the auction market? A recent survey says, raise Angus cattle. Data from 9 cooperating auctions from Kentucky to California and spanning 660 lots sold last fall showed Angus cattle are worth $5.30 more per hundredweight than their non-Angus contemporaries. That was an all-time high for the combination of 5-weight steers and heifers in the 14-year Here's the Premium study.
If that's what the average Angus genetics are worth, you can imagine how much more they would be worth if you actually had some track record on performance, post-weaning performance, grade, and some of that to go with.
The survey also noted weaned or vaccinated cattle earned more than $7 per hundredweight compared to other lots. Premiums for Angus calves have grown in a near linear trend since 1999, when the goal was to show ranchers that consumer preference mattered all the way back to the cow-calf level.
We wanted to help producers understand how having a branded beef program concentrating on premiums was relevant to them, considering most of them were selling their calves at weaning.
Dividing those 14 years into 2 equal periods shows a per head Angus steer advantage growing from $21.21 in the first 7 reports to $31.40 in the last 7 years.
Also thought that as cattle prices went higher over those 14 years, that since all cattle would be worth more and more, there couldn't continue to be a higher and higher Angus premium, but that has proven to be not the case. During those 14 years, we've seen a great genetic advancement in the ability of Angus cattle to grow and grade, and including, or at the same time, we've seen advances in the maternal traits, all the other reasons why people might bid higher for those Angus cattle.
Video auction data shows a similar trend in higher values for cattle of Angus breeding. I'm Cindy Campbell.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Golf Week calls it the best course you can play in Kansas. But once you play, you'll want to stay. Go for it. Firekeeper Golf Course at Prairie Band Casino and Resort is just north of Topeka off Highway 75. Our stay and play package is worth the trip. Luxury hotel room, green fees, and golf cart for two, starting at just $169.
Prairie Band Casino and Resort. Go for it.
I'm Dennis Tebow. My wife and I, Kathy, are the owners of Wolf Creek Cattle Company. We have grown to approximately 70 bulls.
I'm Reese Arnold. I'm the livestock manager at Wolf Creek Cattle Company. You know, these are not just like normal cattle. These cattle, they're hauled anywhere from, 8 to 10 hours a day across the United States and asked to perform. The Multi-Man 90 keeps them kind of level. It maintains and balances their system. The stress level's less when everything's right and working right, then they're working right.
Tar Waters has what you need for all seasons for around the farm and home. Working, hunting, growing, feeding, snow removal, even fun for the kids. And a service department with experienced techs to help keep your equipment in top running condition. Tar Waters has a huge selection and the best prices. Tar Water Farm and Home, family owned and operated since 1978. They have what you need.
Use of mulches in a garden is a very important factor for most all gardens. It helps to conserve water, the vital resource. It helps to reduce weed competition. As it degrades, it will provide necessary nutrients that can be recycled back into the soils for future plant for their fertility. But this one that we have here today on site is a recycled pallet mulch. And so it adds a lot of terrific benefits for our garden here in southwest Kansas. When you apply the mulch, timing is very important. Be sure that you know the type of plants that you have. Many of our plants love warm soils. If you apply the mulch too soon in the spring, particularly annual bedding plants, you may find that it's actually keeping the soils too cold or maybe retaining too much moisture to where they don't have that real ideal conditions to get a great root system started. So you may need to wait a few weeks for the spring temperatures to warm up. Most of your native plant materials that may be perennials, a continual year-round mulch works great. As you plant your plants out in the middle of something in a vast area like this, you can easily define where your paths are. As far as reconditioning the mulch over time, it would not take much to just come in and give it a slight top dressing to refresh the look of the mulch and also to compensate for any natural deterioration of the mulch that is in contact with the soil surface. Probably at least a 2 to 3 inch depth would be ideal for most of our mulches. If you're mulching under a permanent mulch like under a tree or a shrub, there you can go on up to about a 4 inch depth and have a good deep mulch around those plants.
For more information, visit your local extension office or visit our website at kansasgreenyards.org.
Closed captioning brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff Progress, powered by Kansas farmers.
We'll have lots more for you tomorrow here on Ag AM in Kansas. We're here every weekday, same time, same station. Or look for us on the web at agaminkansas.com. Eric Atkinson here from K-State Research and Extension.